right. Welcome everybody. 9:03 a.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Harmony, just as soon as you're ready, if you would call roll, please.
Director Bradley,
Here.
Director Brems, Director Cardenas,
Here.
Director Dowley,
Here.
Director Keeley, Director Litback, Director Olson, Director Peterson,
Here.
Director Prokopas,
Here.
Director Silvestrini,
Here.
Director Stevenson.
Here. All right, we're moving to public comment. Do we have any public comments today? Anybody in the room? Anybody online? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, which is UPD update with your point here today.
Morning, board. Just a couple things for update. I wanted to let you know that it's starting on Sunday, 15th, it'll be dispatch week. For 1 week, we'll be recognizing our dispatchers. So if any of you are interested in participating, please let us know. Then the only thing I have for UPD update is during the legislative session, HB 84 was passed. It's a school safety bill, and basically it requires every school in the state to have a guardian who is armed.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so and with that, a lot of the responsibility falls on all the county sheriffs to coordinate. But there is a portion where the sheriff can designate the chiefs to do their own training with the guardians. If you have a school resource officer in your school, that counts. But there is a significant impact. So the sheriffs are all meeting. I'm meeting with all the BPA chiefs because it is a heavy load for anybody. But just know it's quite a bit of training that needs to be provided to these guardians, and most of the chiefs want to be participating in training their own guardians since they're in their jurisdiction, rather than have the sheriff's office do the training and then they're not saying no what type of training we provided to all of them. We believe there will be around 350 initial guardians, but there could be backup guardians. So we're talking, if we even double that, that'd be 700 or more guardians that need to be trained, and then they just stay in the school. So it's just a massive bill. They do it in Florida and Texas. Texas is now going away from that style. They're changing the way they do it, but Florida still has armed guardians in every school, and that will have an impact to UPD jurisdictions. You have a lot of schools in UPD, and you know the UPD chiefs will be at EPA as well, participate in those conversations. So
I just had a question. We define what a guardian is. That can be an employee of the school, it can be the principal, it can be somebody who's trained.
It cannot be a principal or a teacher. It has to be an employee, so that
That's their sole
that
purpose.
is the tough part, is the school will be the one that hires these folks. And they do a mental health evaluation on them, but we don't get that information. All we do is get the name, and we have to train them on firearms, and hopefully they have experience using firearms. But it will take away from the range, the firearms range, when you're trying to train, you know, could be up to 700. Right now, we know there's about 350 schools and in our county. So it does take away from the range as well, of range time for law enforcement. But yeah, it could be the janitor, it could be the school cook, anyone like that. They have to be a school employee. So it's still a rough one to try to figure out all of the details in it, and that's why all the sheriffs are meeting, all the chiefs are meeting. Well, keep you updated as we go along, but I just wanted to put it on your radar because it will have an impact to every single police chief in the valley.
Is there an implementation date?
Well, the state security chief has already been assigned or appointed. I'm going to be appointing the county security chief in the next week. We'll announce that. And then after that, the bill goes into effect in May. Just like all legislation.
Can their training be out at the KD or range?
Does McKay have a firearms range?
That one out by the Great Salt Lake, isn't that KD?
Oh, Lee K.
Lee, yeah, there you go.
West Valley will most likely pick that range for her to train their officers. So, or not their officers, their guardians. So each police chief will be designated to provide whatever training they can, and if they can't, then the sheriff will. But the sheriff has the ability to designate those out. The concern is UPD doesn't have a range. So there's most of in the valley, the very few police departments have ranges. Cottonwood Heights did put in for some type of federal grant to build a range for everybody in the county, and I signed off on it, all the police chiefs did. In the event that gets passed in a couple of years, there will be a large range in Cottonwood Heights available to law enforcement. But yes, Lee K, there's Salt Lake County, Salt Lake City, Highway Patrol, Murray have ranges. I'm sure there's others that I'm missing, but they're very limited because we're trying to train our police officers, and that takes a lot of time. It's just not our officers who have to qualify. Our SWAT teams have to train regularly. So that is my biggest concern is, are we taking away from law enforcement training to try to fit in these armed?
What range do you use?
We have a Salt Lake County range. That's the range that we currently
So it
use.
wouldn't actually cost UPD or the sheriff's office anything to have the school districts use the range?
Well, the school districts won't use the range. The law enforcement agency will be the one that uses it. The challenge that UPD has is when UPD was under the sheriff's office, the range was ran by UPD. Now that we're doing the split, the range is going back to the sheriff's office. Because it's a countywide service, we open it up to all law enforcement. So everybody can ask to use the range. You just have to do it in certain order. Or what we had with UPD prior was they were higher preference because they ran the range. Just want you to, put that on your radar so you know. And just so, UPD can still use the Salt Lake County range. Nobody's saying they can't.
Is there money in the bill for the training?
There's no money in the bill for law enforcement. There's $100 million for the school district. And that is to provide $500 so the individual that becomes a guardian can purchase a firearm or use it for ammo. But the rest of it, it's all for the school
They should
district.
use it to pay for training.
No.
School districts cannot.
They
use it to pay for-
can't use it to give to law enforcement.
One thing I just want to say on this is, because of this piece of legislation and others, I've asked Heather Anderson just to give an update, tried to get that scheduled earlier. She's been out of town, so I believe it's our next meeting. We've got her scheduled to come and give a legislative recap.
That's an important one that for to do. So we're still trying to weed through it. Even the state is still struggling on trying to figure out exactly what's required in the bill. A lot of it relies on the school districts. That's why they up $100 million. But that's for them to hire their employee. I think it has to be an existing employee though. We'll see how many.
Sorry, lots of questions. Do you see that alleviating some of our responsibility with school resource officer?
No.
No. 2 people sometimes in each school.
Well, you're gonna have a if you have a school resource officer in the school, you don't have to have
They
a
won't
guardian.
add a guardian.
So I think what it's going to do is most of the schools, it's gonna be a trial and error. They're probably gonna all hire guardians that don't have school resources because it's cheaper. Then something's gonna happen and they're gonna realize armed civilians that have very little training don't work. So the schools will probably all go to SROs, school resource officers, in the future. But this bill includes all public schools, all private schools, even, the small little schools that are there's many that are just in little plazas that they're doing, so it includes every school. And that is all I have for the update. If you have any questions.
All right, item 4, UPD reorganization update. We'll hear from Chief Messer.
Mr. Chair, quick update for you. Last night, we had our last council meeting to review the ILA and approve that in Brighton. So now every township and city has gone through that process. And we've all unanimously supported to approve that. It's been nice to get out and meet with your councils, and speak to them, and support's very much appreciated. So that process is done. I want to say thanks to Harry and the rest of the attorneys from your respective areas and the Solid County District Attorneys and their efforts to get that pushed through and completed. That took quite a long time. Didn't we start that last summer, Harry? Shortly after. Yeah. And so we had many of you in this room that helped contribute to that. Very much appreciated. The next thing, we've had some productive discussions with the District Attorney's Office, Chief Ackerman and Chief Van Emmerich, regarding moving forward on a number of issues, so including some areas that you may see some cooperation in, things like assets, vehicles, a number of areas where agreements need to be completed with both Solid County or any other entities. We're meeting again on Monday the 15th. I anticipate that to continue to be productive. We'll move that along as quickly as we can. The next item, we're finishing up the locations and spreading out everybody amongst the precincts. We've about got that organization finished and placed everybody in 4 of the 5 precinct buildings. Currently, Lieutenant Chambers has been really instrumental in helping push that forward. And it's been an interesting exercise. There's some things we're running into where in certain areas, for instance, we may have a lot of room within physical building itself, but we're limited on parking. Or we have a lot of parking, but we're limited on the space there. So we're trying to get that to work, and I think we're about there. So I anticipate that we'll have units moving out of this building and into those precincts prior to July. That's what we're working on right now. So we're very close to start making those moves and seeing what that looks like. But we're trying to do that in the most efficient, financially efficient, under budgetary constraints, to make sure that works. That there's no interruption of service. That's probably the biggest goal, is just to make sure that everything runs smooth and we don't have a unit that's offline for an extended period of time. So we'll continue to work on that. And the final thing I want to mention, we have kind of come to a point where until we know what's happening with the hiring over at Salt Lake County, it's hard for us to move forward. I've spent a tremendous amount of time talking to various commanders, in particular Chief Dial and Chief Olson, looking at different scenarios on how we move forward when some of those decisions are made. I think we're going to be able to move very quickly and pivot where necessary, but we're just kind of at a point where it's hard to do some of those things related to staffing, promotions, moving people to make sure staffing across the entire organization is even as we can get it, And so that's where we're at. We're really close to making moves. Of course, some other things have to follow this first. So we're making progress, but we have to have that next piece move before we can react and make the necessary moves we have. But other than that, the reorganization is progressing well. Hopefully we can have a lot done by July 1. But there will be things that post July 1 that will still be working. So the goal is to make sure that your communities don't see any interruption service. They won't even notice that something's happened. It should be that smooth. So that's what we're shooting for, and the sheriff's office is doing the same. So, do you have any questions for me? Thank you. Appreciate your support.
All right, item 5, Salt Lake County Law Enforcement Bureau update, Chief Zach.
Morning, everybody. We are working diligently, working on looking at all of our contracts, grants, MOUs that we need to transfer over to the county. So we are making good progress on that. We are putting finishing touches on a lot of our civilian job descriptions. We got some answers back from county HR. So we're working on finishing touches for that and building out our civilian recruitment plan on what that's going to look like so that we can make this seamless as possible for many of our civilians. We were approved to hire and onboard 2 lieutenants early by the county council. So we're very excited about that. This week we are conducting interviews for our lieutenant rank. To piggyback on what Chief Mazurman was saying, we are hopeful that we have a finalized budget so that we can put out an open recruitment and close that recruitment and begin the selection of all of our personnel. And we're very open about communicating back and forth with UPD on numbers as we go along on that. So we are making progress. That's all I have unless there are any questions.
Okay. Item 6, again, I'll just kind of open this up for discussion if there's anybody else wants to add in. All the thing I've got is I appreciate all the work from the communities to get the interlocal in front of your councils. I think it's a great update to have that everybody's got that on and passing through. So just appreciate the work from everybody on this board, making sure that that got on their agendas and support. Any other items? Great. Item 7, Benefits and Compensation Committee update.
We met yesterday with yes, and we reviewed a number of proposals and we're prepared to review those again and discuss and make a decision today.
I wanted to come up and just answer any questions that I can related to the benefits or compensation. Just as an overview, we had the meeting yesterday. GBS presented for us. They talked about the they call them decrements or adjustments to the structure of the plans. We just wanted to be transparent with the board on what that looked like and what the possibilities were. If they were to implement all of those, they could get the renewal down to a 4.7 instead of a 9.7. But that has a direct impact to the membership of UPD. The employees would bear the brunt of that cost. So that was the gist of that. We also presented some information about the compensation, the 1%, 2%, and 3% COLA options, what that impact is to the budget. And so that was presented to the committee members. So you have that information to work with as well. And that was pretty much the gist of it. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I'll just reiterate, I don't think it was any surprise. It seemed like the committee was comfortable with the 3% COLA. That's what we've discussed as a board, and that was kind of reiterated yesterday. And then as we looked at the 9.7 versus the 4.7, Decided that we were more comfortable with the 9.7, that still fit into the 7% overall preliminary budget increase maximum. And it would have been a significant burden to the employees, so decided that was the direction that committee was going. So,
Great. Thank you very much.
all right, item 8, upcoming meetings. We've got a board meeting on Thursday, April 25th at 9 a.m. Finance committee meeting on Tuesday, May 7th at 8 a.m. The mutual aid fallen officer memorial is Wednesday, May 8th at 10 a.m. UPD board meeting Thursday, May 16th at 9 a.m. I don't know what the OOTS stands for. Annual award ceremony, Wednesday, June 5th at 2 p.m.
Stands for Boots, well, it's Boots, Office of the Sheriff.
Anything on here that we're missing? Great, thank you. Item 9, approval of the March 13th, 2024 and March 21st, 2024 UPD meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes or any?
So moved.
Thank you so much. We've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those pass. And then for other business, board member reminders, requests for the 2024 Open Public Meetings Act certificates. And the request for member entity resolutions adopting the local agreement. Anything else we need to add on? Harry?
Just that we need to have a record that you have received the training or I need to provide it. So I figured we have enough on our agendas without me providing a specific training that is required of everybody who serves on a public body anyway. So just asking that you get your certificates or some proof of completion of the program to us. It's an item that I think is required by our audit as well. So would request that you go through your emails when you took the course. You probably should have some kind of a certification and just quote it in harmony for our records.
Thank you. Any other business? I think that's the quickest UPD board meeting we've had in quite a while. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. If we have motions, is there a second? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Good job, Dave. You got it.